Welcome back. It's a beautiful Thursday where I'm at. I hope it's the same for you, Neil, as well. But
Sunny outside.
The fall weather as the leaves are, well, they've been changing for a couple weeks now, but it's looking like fall more. I can say that.
Yeah, that's true.
Welcome back. We're here for oh my God, where are we at already? Number 4 episode.
We're at 4 already. Look at us.
I kind of flew by a little quickly than we thought, but yeah, we're making our way through the week here a little bit and getting it's one more sleep now, believe it or not, until opening night, and you're going to be a busy man tomorrow.
Yeah, so again, in case people don't know, I also host the Devil's State of Mind podcast here on THPN, which covers the New Jersey Devils. And I'm going to be doing the first live watch along on our THPN YouTube channel for tomorrow's game between the Devils and Buffalo Sabres in the first of 2 games in the Global Series over in Prague, Czechia. That game and stream will start at 1 p.m. Eastern. So I'm looking forward to kicking off what should be an exciting season of hockey in general.
And we will be sure to cover that as much as we can. We got a busy week coming up. It all starts really tomorrow for all of us. Like, it's really like that's when it begins, right? And even on October 8th, too, like that's when the slate of games comes in as well. And everything will kind of come into place.
Just moving and grooving.
Moving and grooving, but we're not there yet as we got one more preseason game to do for your Calgary Flames, who were in action last night. They were also in action a couple of nights ago, but we're staying up to date here. They were in Winnipeg last night. They brought out a roster with a lot of bubble players. They wanted to decide, whether they were going to stay, whether they're going to go back. A lot of management kind of knew that some of these guys were going to go back. They went up against the Jets lineup that was fairly NHL heavy, but still no excuses at the end of the day. They unfortunately fell 5-2 to the Jets last night. Dustin Wolf, I believe, was the man in charge. He stopped 22 of 27 shots. Apparently it was a solid performance, at least from what I saw a little bit. I thought he played well in terms of just those really golden opportunities in the second period. Yeah. Other than that, it's tough, right? Because it's like, this isn't your normal roster, right? And you're kind of left in the dust a little bit with some of these guys. It kind of goes along here, showing Ehlers was on the board, Scheifele, Velarde, like the usual characters on the Jets, Niederreiter, when it goes down even further, Kyle Connor getting on the board. So like your usual suspects normally on a normal Jets roster came to play. They showed up big time. They played well yesterday. Give them full credit. Other than that, the other kind of notes that I have that you'll sure like, Neil, is that Kevin Ball made an appearance last night. He actually did himself have a solid performance. He was even in terms of plus minus, which is okay. And he played a full 21 minutes last night. Now, a lot of speculation will be around that Kevin Ball will be matched up with Rasmus Andersson once the season comes underway. Ryan Husk has alluded to it that he is a top 4 D-man. And we're going to hope to see that that's the kind of, that's where we want to see him fit into this lineup going into the season. Being the Devils podcast host that you are, give us a little bit of insight for those of us who are going to be watching Kevin Ball for the first time this year. What insight do you kind of have on Kevin Ball going into the season?
So Kevin Ball is kind of an intriguing player in the sense that when you first look at him, I mean, obviously the height is the thing that stands out right away. He's 6'7". He's a big body kid. The thing that's so interesting is that coming up through the minors and everything, he was considered to be, and he even said it in his own words, as an offensive defenseman, which I get it. I like the hope for that, but the reality is that when you're that big and not the most fleet of foot when it comes to skating, you're probably better off being a big body physical defensive defenseman. And I think you're starting to see Kevin Ball change his game to that more. I think the first couple of years in New Jersey, I think he tried to keep being a guy that could make plays offensively. And look, from the Devils' perspective, with Lindy Ruff, and then eventually you had to deal with Travis Green as well. You don't know if it was just because he didn't fit his system or he's trying to figure it out. Like, who knows? I think it was positive to see him out on the ice because I know he's been injured and he was dealing with off-season workouts and things like that. But overall, him being paired with Rasmus Anderson is a good thing because, again, Rasmus Anderson is also a big body defenseman. And I think that Anderson can kind of take Ball a little bit under his wing. Because remember, Kevin Ball's still a pretty young player. He's not even 25 yet. Like he's
21, 22.
He's 21, 22. And think about this. He's already been in the league for like 2.5, 3 years and played in the playoffs. So this is a kid that has a lot of experience considering. And I think that it's positive to see him in the lineup and play. And I thought he played well. Like, yeah, he was even in plus minus, but he looked good. He looked like he hadn't missed a beat. I think the system that Huska wants to play, I think overall works for the type of player Kevin Ball is. Let's just put it this way. Don't be surprised if he doesn't put up a lot of points because he's not a point defenseman. He needs to work on shots and he needs to be physical. That's what I would like to see the Flames mold him into. Because I would also say this. I would tell this to every Flames fan. Don't make him the prime guy to quote unquote put blame on with the whole Jacob Markstrom trade. Like, don't look at it as if he doesn't work out, then this whole trade is a failure. You still have that first round pick you got from New Jersey as well.
Yes.
So keep that in mind. But I think Flames fans are going to like Kevin Ball, especially he's going to get a lot more minutes than he would have gotten in New Jersey for sure.
And for him being a big body, you might expect him to probably play more or less on penalty kill. And that's kind of the system that, we've kind of seen Craig Conroy do, or sorry, the moves that he's made, at least in the last couple of months, by the additions of Miromanov, the addition of Grushnikov, and then also with now Kevin Ball coming in the lineup. A lot of big guys coming in. You're going to at some point see all three of them play some form of NHL regular season games coming up. But that's a little bit of something that, Craig Conroy wants to involve in the lineup a little bit as the season comes around. Other little tidbits here. Peltier, Coronado, they were okay last night. I think really Coronado
was getting better. I like it.
Yeah,
this is a long time to have a game.
It's not the best time. However, you can't outweigh what he's done early on, right? Like, you can't expect him that he's going to light up points every single night. Like, you're going to have nights. I think they were just more or less speaking to that when they lined him up on the first line, because that was the one thing that we said, that they lined him up on the first line the other night, and they wanted to see how he was going to do and perform against some of the other big name guys.
Right.
And he just wasn't there. Right. And that was the hard part.
Guy. No, that's what my issue is that I don't see him in that role.
Right.
That's my problem.
And you might say the same thing for Peltier too. And now what the concern is with Peltier, because he's kind of been up and down too this preseason, maybe a bit more down than we'd like to see up.
Yep.
The problem now, which people have alluded to on social media, is that if you're going to put him in the minors, you have to put him through waivers. I'm of the mindset that he's going to 100% get claimed by somebody if you put him in waivers. I think he can probably be involved in some other lineup potentially on a bottom tier team in the league. Like, you could stick him in, I don't know, Chicago or San Jose or whatever.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean? So somebody could use him.
I don't personally see it as much. I think there's a better chance that he doesn't get claimed.
So there was a poll too that went out. I can't remember from where it was, but it was like, would you do a deal where it would be Peltier for a third round pick or fourth? And people were like, no, absolutely not. Because maybe they still see the value in him come regular season time. So I think for understanding, like, if it's me going into this season and seeing what he was doing last night and throughout the preseason, I would keep him up. I wouldn't risk putting him down quite yet. You know, you have to keep him up there because if you're
Yeah.
kind of expecting this to be a wishy-washy season, you know, you just signed Peltier, and now you want to be able to see what he's able to
Right.
do come regular season time. What do you think?
I think the only thing I would argue with it is that you also don't want to be in a position where, even on a team with where the Flames are right now, you don't want to be in a position where maybe Huskett doesn't trust him in the lineup consistently. And then
Mhm.
there's a lot of nights where he's sitting up in the press box not playing. And I get it. You don't want to take that risk on a guy who still has some potential to go on waivers and then lose him for nothing. Like,
Right.
I, I'll give you like a really good example of this. I think it was like 3 years ago. The Devils. I know I keep bringing up Devils examples. Bear with me, people. Don't roll your eyes at
You're
me.
good. You're good.
Devils put Scott Wedgwood on waivers like 3 years ago. And now you look at him now. Look at how productive he's been as one of the better backups in the NHL. You know, he was great.
Right.
And I thought he was really good in Dallas, especially when Jake Ottinger was not playing well last year. Now he gets to be the backup to Yusei Saros in Nashville. He's a guy who's made a lot of value. So I think Flames management understands that they don't want to have that situation. But I will say this about trading him. You may not get much more value than what you might be getting now.
You
So
won't.
it's tough because you wish that Peltier had separated himself more throughout the
That
preseason.
this was the time to do it, and they
Do you
alluded
think
to
he
that, and we'll
plays
talk
tonight?
about
I
it.
didn't see the roster. Is he playing tonight
I think it's. Do they play tomorrow or is it
or
tonight? I
tomorrow?
think
It
it's
was one of
tonight.
the 2 days. I'm thinking one of the two
I
days.
feel like it's tomorrow. Anyway, whatever.
I think it's today or tomorrow. So
Yeah, but regardless, I think with Peltier, you wanted to see this early on, and this was your time, right? Because Huska alluded to this in the documentary that they just started doing with the Flames. In we'll
I
talk
was going
about
to
that
bring that up
after.
as a
We
topic
got
today.
it. Don't you worry, we got it.
All right, good.
So they alluded to this at the beginning of that episode in that camp, and they said, you know, you have to earn this. Not everybody's going to make this team, right? Like, go out there and take it, right?
Yeah,
And I think a lot of people were kind of hoping that Peltier was going to be one of those guys. Even Coronado too was going to be one of those guys who to take it. Now all of a sudden you're kind of up in the air going into this final roster cuts, going, I don't know, man. I don't know where this is going to go. So it'll be interesting to see in the next day or so in terms of where these guys truly end up
I
when that
agree.
time comes. However, there were some moves today as well. I'll bring it up
Yep.
here. So a couple of guys that we kind of expected were not going to be on the starting lineup. You got Asperod, you got Clark Bishop, Hunter Brustevich. A lot of people shockingly were mad at this, but what people are forgetting
Well,
is
with
that
Bruce Schlivitz,
yeah, he's
really,
19 years old. So, like, if anything, I'm sitting there as Ryan Huska going, man, like, you were probably out of all the prospects the best in this camp. And I want to see you play some of those pro minutes. You're 19 years old. You know, I want to see you play a full year maybe in the
I
AHL.
agree.
You might see him play once or twice this
I
season.
agree.
Maybe that's a big maybe. Excuse me. But yeah, like this shouldn't be a knock as to
Sure.
why he's going down. They want to bring him down just because he wants to play that pro minutes and they want to see how he elevates at that level. And you know, we're all hoping that he does well. And then other notes too you have here is Martin Frick and Justin Kirkland, and also Sam Morton. Kirkland and Frick, though, who did put up goals in last night's
Yes,
game
Kirkland and Ferg did both score in that last game.
against the Jets. And then also too, I just
Positive
wanted
for
to
both of
quickly
them.
yeah, and then one more thing I wanted to bring up for people getting sent down or putting on waivers today. We have three guys that were put on waivers. So notably, Dryden Hunt, Walker Dewar, and
Tenorti.
Jared Tenorti. Thank you to Pat Steinberg
We were
for
just talking
putting
about
this
Tenorti in the
out.
last episode.
We were. They just brought on Tenorti. You know, again, this might be a guy who's maybe that seventh, eighth, probably an eighth D man, give or take. If there's some injuries that pile up in the year and they need him, then I imagine he'll come up. You know, same thing with Walker Dewar. I just think that I think with Walker Dewar getting sent down, that for me leaves Adam Klapka on the roster. I think he's earned his spot. I think they like him on that fourth line with Ryan Lomberg and potentially Pospisil if they move him to the right wing. I think that tells me, and even Dryden Hunt being gone down too, because he's played fourth line before. That tells me that out of Klapka
Yeah.
probably makes this team, and I'm really happy for him.
Me too, because I think he's been one of those guys that, we didn't know exactly what we were going to see in this camp from him. And he's come in with the mindset of exactly what Conroy was saying. You want to earn a spot on this team, you got to go and take it. And that's what he's done. Not just with scoring. He's also laid the body several times. He's been an all around guy that, as a fourth liner, you could really, really enjoy like having there. And so I think for him, still being a pretty young player, it can't hurt. You're going to have young players on this team. And if they're able to define their role this early on in their development, I think it's a really big positive. So I think Klapka has all but made this team. I would be surprised at this point with the moves they just made with Hunt going on waivers, etc., that he doesn't make it.
I don't think a lot of people had that on their bingo card. A lot of Flames
I
fans
certainly did.
thought. I don't think any of us did really that. We didn't think he'd kind of show up the way he did. And the way that Ryan Lomberg speaks about him too, and that Huska spoke about him as well, I think it kind of assures that he gets in here. So we'll kind of see what happens in the next day or so. We'll probably get some more news about roster cuts because they have to finalize it before obviously the first game of the year, which is next week, which is exciting with regular season right around the corner and it being tomorrow. Now, the big news we wanted to get to today was whether he's credible or not. I don't know. People have said things in the past. I don't know whether these things are true or not. I'm just reading what my eyes are seeing. Frank Seravalli goes on Flames Talk Sportsnet and mentions that, and I wish I had the tweet because I tried to look for it earlier and no idea where it went, but
I could try to find
it. If you want to try and find it, sure.
I'll try to look.
He mentions that there's been happy-go-lucky conversations between Kuzmenko and the Flames, and that a possible extension is maybe in the works. I'm trying to use it very carefully because we don't know exactly if these are true or not, but the conversation has apparently come up once, depending how deep these talks have been, that's maybe a conversation for another day. But just the fact now it's kind of coming to light a little bit now. How credible we really want to make this.
I think I might have found it, but it may not be. This tweet came from October 1st, so I don't know if
that's 2 days ago. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. So this is from Yegor Sharagovich replaced Breadman. Okay, first of all, great Twitter handle.
I've seen it up, yeah.
He just copied and pasted this. Frank Seravalli on Flames Talk said that he's heard that there are pretty good vibes, quote, between Kuzmenko and the Flames. He said that he has heard that Calgary is considering extending Kuzmenko. And I honestly, Kyle, agree exactly with Red Hot Hockey. My head says no, my heart says yes.
Right.
That's how I feel about it. Because we were talking about last week before all this came up about Kuzmenko was one of those guys that we kind of could see being a trade deadline, guy. A guy that probably isn't on the team moving forward and things like that. And now we're hearing the opposite. And now I think we're now into this era where guys are starting to want to be like, yeah, I want to be in Calgary. I want to be here. That's how I look at it. That's how I kind of interpret what Kuzmenko is leaning towards here.
And I think to add to that, it's really a good spot. You can argue that Calgary is a good spot for this. You can argue that Chicago is a good spot for this. You can argue that San Jose is a good spot for this as well, too, where, guys just want to now be a part of this journey. Young guys, veteran guys, too, as well. Whether they sign long-term for $10 million or not, that's a different story. They want to be a part of this kind of journey a little bit, right?
For sure.
To kind of bring back to the level that, they should be at, right? Because there was a time when, maybe 10 years ago, teams like the Flames who were in the playoffs and won around. You had San Jose who was in the playoffs pretty frequently. You had Anaheim who was in the playoffs frequently. You had Chicago who won multiple Stanley Cups, not too long ago, right? So, but anyway, that's kind of going off topic a little bit. With Kuzmenko, God, I was so back and forth on this, and I think I still am. Because on the one hand, you wanted to see what he does this year. If he brings you the value, right, then maybe you can revisit these conversations and go, okay, well, we can get really good value for you at the deadline and probably bring you to a cup contender now that you're having a good season. On
Right.
the other side of the coin, if he's not having a good year, but he still wants to stay and extend and he's happy about it, then it gives him a little bit more time to develop a little bit, to, or not even develop, but like, be a true player on this team in terms of the power play unit, a pure goal scorer, all that sort of stuff. You give him that kind of time. So that's the good stuff about this. The bad side of it, and I get where people are coming from, is you don't want to extend him for longer than 3 years, give or take,
Right.
depending on what the cap hit is. And then all of a sudden, the production's just not there, right? We're starting to
Right.
see the same old stuff from Vancouver. So that is the one worry of it. The other worry, too, is that, if you extend him and then he has a really good season, you're sitting there as management going, man, like we could have got really good value from him. So there's two really good, interesting sides to this rumor, quote unquote. What do you kind of make from this in the Kuzmenko talks?
I mean, again, like I was saying before, it's one of those things where like my head says no, but my heart says yes, because you don't want to be in a position, especially now that we're entering this era where more guys want to stay here as opposed to not want to be here, that you start pissing off the people that actually want to be here and be a part of this. Because look, we all know that winning is going to be the most important thing in sports. But there's also a lot of guys that not only do they want to win, they want to be part of something that can build from the ground up. And Andrei
Right.
Kuzmenko, while he is going to be 27, or I think he is 27 at this point, um, he wants to be a part of something. Because remember, he started in Vancouver and then eventually got traded away to Calgary. If he gets traded away, this is now his third team in his still short career.
Yeah.
At some point, you want to be settled somewhere. You don't
Yeah.
want to be thinking every 2-3 years, oh, I'm going to be traded. I'm going to have
Right.
to think about my long-term plans.
However, to jump on that, you want to have security, but he hasn't earned the security yet. He hasn't earned
That's
6, 7, 8 years.
sure.
He has not even
Sure.
close to earning that. So in my eyes, he's got to earn that first.
And I think that that's where I don't know if I would say a contract is on the horizon. I think it's more that I think there's a good relationship between Conroy and Kuzmenko and his party. And I think that I would venture a guess that you're not going to see a deal anytime soon. I think the Flames are going to tell Kuzmenko, go out and prove it, and then we'll get this done. And I
Yeah.
and I agree with you that 2 to 3 years would be good. I understand if Kuzmenko would want a longer term deal. Once you start getting to that 4 or 5 years is where things get a bit tricky.
Yeah.
And with the salary cap going up, I don't think the money is going to be that much of a concern in this situation, as it's more how comfortable are you with keeping him into his 30s and
Right.
beyond that? And is this the best we're going to get of Andrei Kuzmenko? Because right now he's technically in his prime as a player.
Right.
Is this the best we're going to get? Because if it is, he's not a top six player, or he's borderline top six. That might be a hot take for some people.
That's a hot take.
I will, that's my first one
That's
of the
a pretty
year.
hot take.
That's my
I
first
don't
one of the
know.
year. So, but still, the way that I see it is just don't. If you feel that certain, then sign him. If you're that certain and confident, go for it. If not, keep your options open. That's my argument with it. So, but it is
It's true.
positive. I think for the overall vibes, it's positive that Conroy is building good relationships with the guys that are here right now. And I think that that's the way that I look at it.
And with the start, everything that's coming into place too is the start of something new, right? This new documentary that they're bringing out, which we're going to watch closely. There's so many new things that are just coming into place, and it's like the start of their story, basically,
Right.
right? Sounds cheesy and cliche as it is, but
It's a
it's
new
true,
chapter.
right? It's a new chapter,
And
and
to,
again,
submit that
it's
Kevin Durant meme, my next chapter.
I know, right?
Should
But
we
yeah,
put the logo, the Flames Cats logo? It's just my next
with a
chapter.
big with Kevin Durant's face right
Yeah,
beside
just like
it.
my next chapter. Right, exactly.
But you're right. Like I totally agree in the sense that go play. Don't worry about this right now. Go play.
Play.
We need to see this work, right? And we'll worry about that afterwards. So I agree, and we'll just kind of see if these rumors continue to swirl in the coming weeks and months. I think that's kind of what we're going to assume, especially closer to the trade deadline, because they're going to have to make a decision.
Remember, Sierra Valley's very popular in Flames talks. So like,
because yeah, he appears there.
he appears
fairly
there like
often.
every other week. It feels like he's on there
Yeah.
like often.
On that note, I will quickly roll through some reads here, and we'll take a little break. Cool. Alrighty, TD Tutty yet again, ladies and gentlemen, in for 6 touchdowns matter more. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. We don't care how they score them. We want to bet on touchdowns, and DraftKings Sportsbook is delivering. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score a touchdown. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. I bet 5 games this weekend. I got a little $10 thing going here, $10 parlay. We'll see what happens. My hot take is that I got the Jets beating the Vikings this weekend. I know this is a hockey show, but I got the Jets beating the Vikings this weekend. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
Ready to touchdown dance your own? New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Download the Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN. For new customers, get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. The show is also sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp is a new way to learn and grow, but as adults, sometimes we learn as curiosity, especially when we were kids. Therapy can help you reconnect with your sense of wonder because your back to school era can come at any age. Therapy is super helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself, and it isn't just for those who experience major trauma and more. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/THPN today to get 10% off your first month. And again, it's betterhelp.com/THPN. All right, we're back. Quick side note. Samuel Honzek's goal the other day, probably the best of the preseason.
Oh yeah.
That was unbelievable. To do it on Vince Dunn, and then I think he did it on, was it Grubauer in net for the Kraken? I can't even remember.
Yeah. Yep.
I think it was. Yeah.
It was.
Anyway,
Correct.
that, like, to quickly talk about him, he's all of a sudden came out of nowhere. And this is exactly what this team wanted to see. Management wanted to see from him. I still think he goes to the AHL. I still think he's really young. I think he's 20 years old now. But it's still really good signs to see. And they want him to play the same thing with Hunter Brustevich. They want him to play these pro minutes. You might see him more in the AHL. Your thoughts recently on Honzek and the goal the other day that you had?
I think he's been better than expected. He looks mature beyond his age. This is a kid that came into this training camp with the mindset that he wanted to make it so hard on management to cut him, basically daring them to cut him. Which unfortunately I still think that ends up being the case, like you mentioned. But overall, I really have loved what he's done, and I'm excited to see what he can do with the Wranglers. I'm really just I would like to see him play tomorrow, and just kind of finish the preseason on a high note. And I can't wait for him to be in the NHL at this point. I'm really excited about Honzek.
People want to see how he does, man. I'm excited to see him too, and it should be good. Yeah, that goal the other day was just unbelievable. So we mentioned that we got one more preseason game coming up. They're going to be at home, I think tomorrow night against the Oilers, where you're going to start to see I imagine a majority of these veterans are probably going to play this game. I also imagine, because they want to be able to play together ever since the split squad game, I imagine that you're going to see Coronado, you're going to see Peltier, you're going to see Klapka, you might see Honzek still too if there's time. You're going to see a lot of those guys end up playing big minutes in that game. And in terms of starting goaltender, I want to touch on that afterwards. Yeah, we'll kind of figure out lines for that tomorrow. We'll make sure to get that out to everybody to see.
It's funny you mentioned that,
something?
Kyle. You mentioned that. Derek Willis of Fan 960, he brought this up. This was like 2 hours ago. This is essentially what you're going to probably see for tomorrow and potentially for the season. You got Kuzmenko, Kadri, and Sharon Govich on the top line. Huberdeau, Pospisil, and Mantha. Then you have Zari, Backlund, Coleman, Lomberg, Rooney, Klapka, and then Honzek looks like to be an extra skater. Then you have Uyghur, Miramanov, Ball, Anderson, Bean, Paschal, and then Hanley, Barry. And it looks like Vladard is the one who will be playing tomorrow. So that is what the practice was earlier today and generally what we might see for tomorrow.
Okay. Can you bring that up again real quick? I just wanted to see it.
Give me one second. I'll bring it back up.
Yeah, because again, with the goaltending, I wanted to get back to the point that I had a minute ago. Now there's all of a sudden rumblings that Vladar might get game one against Vancouver, that he might start the season as a starting goaltender. Now, I still think that the plan is that Wolf is going to get maybe 40 to 50 games, give or take, right? I think you want to see, like, they're going to battle it out, but I would like to see Wolf in more than Vladar. Not to say that Vladar hasn't had a bad preseason. Vladar's played very well. We need to see some action, though, this season coming up.
I agree.
And we'll see if he's worthy of being a number one. We'll kind of figure that out. If that's the way that this is going to be, I really like Kadri with Kuzmenko. I think they really gel together well. And to have Sharon Govich on there too is really important, because the goals that you're going to find this season are probably going to come from that line, right?
Sure.
I imagine the Huberdeau line, okay, depending on who you put there, with Mantha too, like Mantha's going to pot some.
Yep.
We'll see what Huberdeau does. He's more of a playmaker, right? And then the list goes on. So I really like that first line. I'm intrigued to see how that goes. Probably would flip. I thought Kuzmenko was a right winger and that Sharon Govich can play left. I don't know, maybe.
Sharon Govich can play either, personally.
Okay. He can kind of play anywhere, really. He's like a Cole Perfetti almost.
He played center in 2 different games in this preseason earlier.
Yeah, so it's interesting with Sharon Govich, but
right.
Yeah, and then I think they mentioned too that, Frank Saravalli, I saw a post too where he said that Connor Zary could be one of those guys that potentially breaks out. I would like to see him on that line with Huberdeau and Mantha, preferably. I'd like to see Pospisil. I get it. I just think he would be really effective on that line with Klapka and Lomberg. And then with Coleman and Backlund, like you mentioned it earlier, I'd like to see Coronado there. I don't think there's room in my team, in my Calgary Flames, that Kevin Rooney finds his way onto this roster. So, and then again, we'll see what Honzek does. He's not going to get a lot of time tonight because of that extra skater. He might go in and out with Connor Zary, who knows, or he might just go in and out with guys who just want to take longer breaks. He's probably going to be that guy that says, you need a 10-minute break, I got you. You need a 10-minute break, I got you, right?
Right.
Yeah, so I think that's the kind of role that he's going to play tonight. But yeah, and then defensively, Uyghur Miramanov, that's pretty much a lock. That's what it's going to look like. Ball Anderson mentioned it at the top of the hour that's what that's going to look like. And then you made the point earlier in the last episode, about Braden Paschal trying to make this team. And they have him matched up with Jake Bean as Hanley and Barry. Hanley and Tyson Barry still on that PTO. They still don't know if he is going to make this team or not.
It's tough.
Yeah.
But I think Jake Bean has solidified his starting 6.
Well, that's what I mentioned in the last episode, right? Is like you had 5 guys that were locked in. I think they were just trying to figure out.
I think he had 2 assists against Winnipeg. I know he had 1, but I think he ended up with 2. He had a pretty good game.
Yeah. So
that's been a good pickup, I think, so far.
Totally. I think it's come down to these 3 guys here, Paschal, Hanley, and Barry. they're rolling with 4. Can they do that? They can roll with 4D tonight?
I think it's just for practice. It's not a.
Okay, I was gonna say, I was like, well, I mean, they want to try to get
It's practice lines. They're gonna roll them out.
I get it. Yeah. Beauty. But yeah, so that's what tomorrow's
Why is Artemi Panarin trending on Twitter? I just want to know why this is happening.
You know what? I don't want to know. And Jeremy Swayman apparently is trending too.
Well, that we know why. We don't know.
Do we want to try and find out? I can look real quick and see if there's something important.
I'm scared. This is non-Calgary Flames news, but it might be funny to just talk about it.
I got nothing. I have nothing on my end.
I really, really quickly want to see why Panarin is trending. Also, Honzek is trending, in case you want to know.
Well, maybe. Oh, you know what? Maybe
Artemi Panarin. Here we go. Oh, that's why. Artemi Panarin is hurt.
Oh, so that's
the lower body injury. Well, that's lame.
Lame.
So lame. I was hoping for something else.
I know. Me too.
Requests to trade right before.
A couple of quick notes too before we move on to our last subject of the day. Again, the Chase documentary was just released the other day on episode 1. I think that was Tuesday night. It came out really good so far. I loved every second of it. I love that Coronado and Pelletier are buddies.
Yeah,
like they're that close with each other. The one thing too I noticed in that was that everybody was talking about Brustevich after the first couple of practices. It looked like he was getting a lot of looks.
Doesn't that suck now that he got cut?
Not really, no.
Yeah, but it's just for the standpoint of like, it just tells you how much that they like this kid.
Yeah, and it's great, and they know that like look at the defensemen that they have right now. Like they have 7-8 guys, right? Yeah. And I think Brustevich is 9, right? But it's not going to be like that for much longer, right? Like I'd have him over Tenorti, Hanley, Barry, etc., right? So what they just want to see is that he's just going to get his minutes coming up in the AHL. He's going to get his first look at the NHL and I think AHL. Correct. And that's just what they want to see. And if it goes really well, then he can just exactly. And then if it goes really well, then he can come back up and then hallelujah, right? So there's that. Also wanted to mention that I will be appearing on Hockey Royalties podcast tonight as well. They wanted me on as well as Dylan from Armchair GM and Other Flames podcast as well too. So we'll all be on there tonight at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. If you guys want to check that out, they do very well for themselves on YouTube. So no pressure for this show whatsoever. No pressure, but this is going to be great. Excited to jump on that tonight, so that should be good. And I wanted to get to the last topic of the day. I figured just because the season's around the corner, I think we should probably just give some quick predictions for each division.
Sure.
So we can go whatever division by division. We'll go 1 through 8, 1 through 7, however many are in each or whatever it is.
I'm gonna have to. I have to look at the standings. So don't.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm not judging either. That's okay. I'm doing the same thing.
I think that Kuzmenko take is going to have people upset. I may have.
I'm gonna clip that later.
No, please don't.
I'm totally gonna clip that later. I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna go find it.
Fine. I'll stick by it. I will stick by it until the end of time.
I can't wait to find that later. Now that you said that, I'm totally gonna do it.
Oh God. I need to learn how to clip. By the way, you need to show me how to do that.
It's easy. Headliner.
Okay.
So
that was non sequitur to what we're doing, by the way.
You pick first. What division you want to start with?
Let's start with the one that our Flames are in. Let's start with the Pacific Division.
We'll do Pacific first. Okay.
Yeah, we'll do West and then East. I think that would be kind of nice. So,
I was gonna say I did this the other night with Jake on Jake's podcast, Columbus Blue Jackets podcast. So I kind of have already my idea. I don't know if you needed time to look at it, but
no, you can go first, and then I'll just kind of go from there.
So my 1 through 8 is I have Vancouver repeating.
Okay.
I've got Vegas at 2.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the Oilers at 3.
Okay.
Those 3 will be the only 3 in that division to make the playoffs. Okay.
Nice.
I have the LA Kings in 4th. I have the Seattle Kraken at 5. I have the Flames at 6th. I have the Ducks 7, and I have the Sharks still at number 8. Now, you
Okay.
can make an argument for them to flip flop a little bit. The
Yeah,
Ducks
sure.
might actually, you know what? Sorry. Ducks 7. Sorry. Sharks 7.
7, Ducks
8.
8.
That's what I
Got it.
wanted to say. Yes.
Okay.
But I've got
Okay.
our Calgary Flames finishing 6th in this specific division.
Well, comparatively to last year, it's not that. I mean, granted, you're dropping one spot because they finished in 5th last year, but
yeah.
it's to be expected.
But yeah, so that's my anyway. I'll let you go with your 2 cents. But my recap of that is, I think the other division is very strong, so that's why I have 3 making it.
Sure.
And then really, it's just San Jose just kind of getting a little better, and the Flames just kind of being where they were from last year. You're 8, sir.
So I'm gonna go with Edmonton 1. I'm gonna say Edmonton wins the division. I'm gonna go with Vancouver at 2. I'm gonna go Vegas 3. I'm gonna go with Seattle at 4. I'm gonna go with Kings at 5, Calgary at 6, Anaheim. San Jose at 7, and then Anaheim at 8. And I have, what do I have? I have only 3 teams. I have the top 3 making it. Yeah. Because
Interesting.
I have a different take for the Central Division.
In the Central, you can make a very good argument for 7 of the 8 teams to make the playoffs. It's crazy, right?
Just like in baseball, just
exactly
being that good.
This is where, for me, it gets interesting.
I agree. Okay?
I've got Dallas 1.
Okay.
I've got the Jets 2.
Okay.
So I think that stays the same. I've got Nashville at 3. I've got the Minnesota Wild 4th.
4th, okay.
And I've got the Colorado Avalanche 5. And then from there, I've got the Blues in 6th. I've got Utah in 7th.
Utah.
And I got Chicago in 8th. And actually, sorry, I misspoke. Utah 6, St. Louis 7, Chicago 8.
Okay.
That's what I have there. And so for my quick reason for that, I think Colorado, I can't trust their goaltending. I can't trust Georgiev and net.
Yeah.
I think it's hurt them, especially in this division where all the teams seemingly got a little bit better, especially Nashville. Sure. Make a case for Minnesota, etc. I don't see it changing really with the Jets and the Stars at the top there. You could make a case that maybe Utah goes on a bit of a heater because they're, new city, it's exciting and all that. But I think they come back down to earth halfway through the season. That's my Central. Your thoughts. And you're up, actually.
So I'll start with Dallas at 1. I'm going to go with Nashville at 2. Winnipeg at 3. Utah at 4.
Oh, man.
Yeah, Utah at 4.
Wow.
What am I missing? Minnesota at 5. No, actually, I have that wrong. Sorry. Colorado at 5. That's what I wanted. Minnesota at 6. John Hines sucks. St. Louis at 7, and then Chicago at 8. That's what I have.
Okay.
And
you got Utah.
I have Utah making the playoffs. So
really, you know what, the additions that they made. Interesting.
No, because the last couple of times we've had a new team. Now, granted, Vegas and Seattle were expansion teams, so I get it. Okay. But we've been having this trend recently where these new teams who we don't think are going to be that good somehow then make run. Granted, with Seattle, it took them till year 2. I get it, but I just think that, like you said, there's that energy, there's that excitement. It's a pretty young team. Goaltending is still going to be my question mark for them with Connor Ingram and Carl Vejmelka.
Yeah.
But I just have a sense that they're going to surprise some people this year. So that's
fair enough. I can see them sneaking in. I can see them sneaking in, but also too, I think 6 of the teams in the Central are better than the 4th place team in the Pacific.
I agree.
I think it's going to be that lopsided.
Yeah.
Moving over to the East, in the Metro, I got Rangers 1.
Okay.
I got Devils 2.
Okay.
I got Carolina 3. I think a lot of people are kind of in that same ballpark there.
There's a constant flip-flop in the Metro.
Yeah.
But the top 3, I think, is what you expect.
I think that's what the general direction is
Yeah,
going to
sure.
be. Yeah. I have the Penguins 4. I got the Penguins
You
4.
oh
I
my
got Flyers 5.
god. Okay.
Yeah. I got Capitals 6. Oh,
The
I missed the Islanders
Islanders?
and the Jackets. Yeah, so hold on a sec. Islanders
That was
6, Washington 7, and then
okay.
Blue Jackets 8. That's what I have. I have the Penguins up there because I think Crosby's just going to come in. He signed a 2-year deal. They got a little bit more there, right? They got a little bit more. They got some
Stop.
guys there that they now know
Stop.
that, hey, he's got 2 years left, and I'm going to go, you know what? I think
No.
they're just going to give her this year.
Please stop. Just
I
stop
got
that.
the Penguins finishing 4th in the Metro.
All right.
And
Don't you
having
dare.
said that, I think 4 teams make the Metro.
I have 5 teams making out of the Metro
Okay.
because I have argued that the Metro is the toughest division in the NHL. And I understand that they might be top heavy. That's my personal opinion.
Okay.
So I know that Atlantic people are going to be angry,
No, I'm saying the Central is the best division in the NHL
but
right
I
now.
mean that's fair. That's fair. You can make that
Oh,
argument.
man, you can. I mean, fair enough. You can make an argument for 7 of the 8 teams in the Metro to make it,
Yeah.
but those Central teams are most of them I find
Yeah.
are better than some of the Metro. But anyway, go
Sure.
ahead.
So I have so as somebody who covers the Devils, it's like tough to say this, but I do have the Rangers at 1.
Okay.
I have the Devils at 2, and I have Carolina at 3. That's how I see
Okay.
it. But I have leaned towards maybe moving the Devils to 3 only because I feel like I expect a slow start with a fairly new team and a new coach and Sheldon Keefe, and they're trying to learn this. So like
Well,
that,
what is it? 2 or 3?
I'm gonna go with 2, Devils 2,
Okay.
Carolina
All
3.
right.
That's what I'm gonna go with. And then for 4th, I have the Islanders because I just think they're going to pull some BS where they're going to have some, just like last year, a lot of these 1-point games where they just
Are going to
pull
go their
out
way.
because Sorokin's going to bail them out as he normally does.
That's why I went the other way. But
Understandable. I have the Flyers at 5, so I have the Flyers squeaking in like as a wild card because I think that they are better. I think last year proved that they are actually further along than we
than what
realize.
most people think.
Yes. That's
Fair.
how
Okay, fair
I
enough.
look at it. So then I have Washington at 6, Pittsburgh at 7, and Columbus at 8. And I
Interesting.
tell you that Pittsburgh's at 7 because
Interesting.
they have no defense and no goaltending. None.
They got 87. That's okay.
Oh, whoopee doing my Subaru. You think that's
That's
going to make that
okay.
much of a difference?
That's okay. That's
Okay.
okay. We can
Also,
agree
by
to
the way,
disagree.
I think Crosby's going to go down with the greatest 2-year extension in terms of money I've ever seen. What was it
I think
like? 2 years, 80 million or some crap? I forget
Nope.
what it was. Some
2
ridiculous.
years, 8.7 a year, man.
8.7.
If
That's
you
what it
go
was.
back
2 years,
on his year,
8.7.
he's had 3 contract extensions with this team. 8.7 has been the term every single time.
Yep.
It's unbelievable. It's been a fantastic run for him. Okay, Atlantic. So, this is gonna be tough. I think Florida has a bit of a hangover. Not a huge one, but I got Boston at 1. I have Toronto at 2. I have Florida at 3. I got the Red Wings 4th.
Okay.
I have the Sabres 5th. I got the Senators 6th.
Okay.
I got the Lightning 7th.
Yep.
And I got the Canadiens still finishing in 8th. I had the Lightning. I said it last year, and they still made the playoffs, but they lost some key pieces. I get they have Gensel. I think this is going to be the year something bad's going to happen with this team. I don't like it. Something bad's going to happen with this team, especially because I think, and I hope that doesn't happen in terms of injuries, but I don't fully trust Vasilevsky all year long. I feel like injuries could come up with him, and I could be totally wrong, and I hope I am.
Yeah.
I get adding Gensel to replace Stamkos. They lost Sergachev in the process, right? And you're expecting, outside of Kucherov and Gensel, you're expecting Hagel, some of these younger guys try and come up and fill the load when you have the Red Wings who have made a step. You've had the Sabres who've made whatever step it is. The Senators who tried to make a step a little bit.
Whatever step they've made.
Sure. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a tough year for Tampa. I really, really do.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, obviously, I only have the top 3 making it in the playoffs in my prediction. So I'm going to go with Florida at 1. I'm going to go with Toronto at 2.
Ooh.
And then I'm going to have something that might be very controversial.
No.
And I don't know how you're going to react to this, but I am going to go with Detroit at 3. I think that they take the next step. I have Tampa at 4. I think I have that right. No, sorry.
You have the Bruins out?
No, I screwed that up. Sorry. I have the Bruins at 4. Yep. Tampa at 5, because I agree with you about Tampa. Buffalo. Yeah, Buffalo's at 6. Ottawa 7, and then Montreal 8. That's how I'm going to go. And so here's why I say Boston out. I'll tell you why.
No, Boston at 4, right?
I had Boston at 4, but they're not making the playoffs, remember?
So, sorry, you had 5 teams in the Metro?
I had 5 teams. Yeah, I had the Flyers making it as the 5th team out of the – yep.
You don't have Boston making the playoffs? I
don't have Boston, and I'll tell you why. Yes. I think it's
That's a harder take than Kuzmenko. What you said earlier about Kuzmenko.
That's my,
sorry, go ahead.
So you pick which clip you want to put out there.
Wow.
And I'll tell you why. It's just where I'm going with it. I don't think the Bruins got any better this offseason at all. I don't. They're old. Jeremy Swayman, I don't think a contract happens anytime soon. And I think the Bruins are going to get off to a slow start. And I think that the early season struggles is going to hurt them in the long run, where they're going to be chasing. Now, I could be wrong. I most likely will be wrong. But I just don't believe in Bell.
No, you can't say that. No. You have to stick behind your pick, my guy.
Oh, with it saying, I was going to say, like, what did I say? I just remember. So, yeah, I'm going to, it's like, what was it, 2 years ago that I didn't like them? Yeah, it was like 2 years ago, like when they had that amazing season. I just didn't, I thought that was it. I thought that was the beginning of the end. I think the beginning of the end is happening now. And I just have issues with their depth. It's just me. So I'm going to roll with it.
So, man, I'm in the mindset that, look, I know Korpisalo will start. I am of the mindset that he's going to sign. Whatever it is.
He will sign. I still expect him to sign with Boston. I don't think he's going anywhere.
And I think it's this cup hangover a little bit for Florida. They lost a decent amount of people. They lost Brandon Montour. They've lost Ryan Lomberg. Now playing.
There you go, Lomberg.
Right. I think they lost not a huge one here, but Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Stolarz, who was the backup goaltender for Bobrovsky, right?
They didn't bring back Nick Cousins either.
Didn't bring back Nick Cousins. I think they just lost. I think that hurts losing Brandon Montour, especially. I think that's a big loss for them.
I don't think it does as much because he's injury prone.
Problem two is, don't forget, this team just grinded out in the playoffs and they ended it on June 30th. That was 2 months ago.
And remember, they made the finals 2 years ago. So now so I get what you're saying. I get it.
Fair.
I just think that like Florida's still up there, personally.
But I remember last year I had Florida high up in the standings even after they made the final because we knew that they were going to make that step, right? Because they made additions in that offseason. My thing is that they've made these deductions.
Sure.
And it might turn, and who knows who's still banged up after winning the cup. So Anyway, well then, this is going to be very interesting to see. We'll have to clip this.
It's gonna be fun. Yeah, you can clip it. I don't care.
Yeah. But yeah,
You
so
have two
that'll kind
clips now. Now you have two clips that you can post.
of, I know, right? That's gonna wrap it up for episode number 4 today. We will be back on Monday. Preseason games will be over. It'll be done with. And we will, I mean, really realistically, we probably should have done this on Monday, but whatever.
It's fine. It's fine.
I'm just going
I
with it.
mean, technically speaking, the season starts tomorrow, so like this kind of works.
Yeah, that's why I kind of did it. So,
So
but yeah, Monday we will get you set for the opening night when they head to Vancouver. We'll make sure we have everything ready for you guys and much more. Neil, again, thank you for joining me today. My understanding is that we will be having a guest next Thursday. We won't tell you who, but we'll figure it out.
Jerome McGinley.
But yeah, I know, right?
We have Jerome McGinley coming up.
Can you imagine?
That's our first guest. That would be insane.
And you guys will be missing out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll do it for us today. Thank you again, Neil, for jumping on and doing this.
Of course.
And thanks to everybody for listening and watching. And we will see you all on Monday. Have a fantastic weekend. Later, everybody.